In this video, I'm going to show you how to finally lose your love handles or whatever area you have stubborn fat on. And I'm going to break it down for you in 4 simple steps. Now, of course, stubborn fat areas vary from individual to individual. I find, especially for men, myself definitely included, the last areas to go are usually kind of the lower back fat, as well as the lower abdominal area. For myself, I notice when I get really lean, that's kind of the last spot to go, that just tiny little bit at the bottom of my abdomen. And really, it makes plenty of sense. This area is protecting vital organs. If you use this example of filling up a canister with rice, the rice that goes in first and is at the bottom, if you dump it back out, is going to be the last to come back out. Your fat works in a similar manner. So the bottom line is, whatever you typically focus as like a trouble area is probably the last to go, which means you need to get that much leaner to be able to get into those fat stores, because you can't spot burn body fat. You just have to get through the rest of it. Anyway, let's get into step 1 of getting rid of those love handles, and that starts with tracking your intake. I know you might not love to do this, but to get to these really low levels of body fat, you want to know how much you're eating. Eating clean is not going to be enough on its own. Sure, it might be at first, but as you go through adaptations and it gets more difficult, you're so much better off knowing how much you're eating. And this way you know how to make adjustments when you hit plateaus as well, which I'll talk about in step 2. Now, I certainly don't want you to get into the perfectionist mindset and freaking out if you get off even a tiny little bit, but at the same time, to get to these lean levels, you want to make sure that you're accurately tracking as much as possible and weighing your food on a food scale so you know how much you're consuming and not taking little extra bites and nibbles that you're not accounting for. Sometimes that alone can get you through a plateau. So when you do get into tracking, you want to focus most of your attention on calories and protein, as research has shown pretty consistently whether you prefer more carbs or fat is pretty much irrelevant as long as you're matching your calories and protein. The reason protein is so important is because it has a really high thermic effect of food, so your body burns a lot of calories processing the food you eat. It literally has about a 10 times higher thermic effect of food than fat. It also helps protect your muscle in a calorie deficit. It helps you feel full, so it's less likely that you overeat. So focus on eating around 1 gram per pound of body weight, or at least your goal weight. And then please don't be afraid of carbs. They help fuel your performance. They're not the devil, I promise. They are going to help you. Plus, sustainability is a big thing here. It doesn't matter if you do something short term just to lose the weight, because quite frankly, the hardest part is usually keeping the weight off. As far as how many calories to eat, that's going to be kind of part of step 2, and that's making sure you don't lose weight too fast. This is something that kills your progress. So patience is key, both for mental and physiological reasons. Mentally, if you get too caught up in the result, it's going to be hard to keep going when you're not seeing the results you want, which is almost inevitable whenever you're in a fat loss phase. Physically, your body is an adaptation machine. It's going to do everything it can to keep you from losing too much body fat as part of its survival instinct. So as calories get lower, your maintenance calories is going to drop to make sure you don't starve to death and your body can hang on to the calories you give it as much as possible. So while losing weight fast may be exciting in the beginning stage, understand the fast results in the beginning leads to less weight loss in the long run once your body adapts and you're already on low calories and you have no room to adjust. So when you're in your fat loss phase, you want to aim to lose between about 0.5 to 1% of your weight on average per week. And for the most part, when you're starting to cut, you're going to make around a 20% decrease from your maintenance calories. And then as you do hit plateaus down the road, now you can make roughly 10% decreases from there to get the process going again, maybe add a little more activity. And I also recommend taking semi-regular diet breaks where you bring your calories back up to around maintenance and do this for a week or 2. And this allows the body to keep its metabolism from slowing down as much to keep the process working better for longer. So while it may seem like a setback or like you're delaying your progress, they could be the very thing that helps you get to these very low levels of body fat you want, and just all the more reason you need to be patient with this process. Also, quick note before step 3, make sure you're also doing things like taking progress pictures and physically looking at them side by side, as well as doing things like taking measurements, paying attention to how your clothes are fitting, changes in the mirror and things like that, because it's not just about that number on the scale. And many people do see dramatic changes in body composition without necessarily seeing much movement on the scale. Anyway, that brings us to step 3, now the exercise part of the equation. And far and away, the most beneficial thing you can do is make sure you utilize good strength training programming and training hard, training close to failure, so you're really challenging yourself and giving your body a reason to change. This doesn't mean that cardio isn't part of the equation and that you shouldn't do it. It just doesn't have as many benefits and your body adapts to it quicker, so you have to just do more and more cardio over time. So you don't want to make it your primary focus. It's more something that you supplement with to help. Now, walking, I think, is a little bit different. I love walking. I think it's one of the best things you can do. It's so easy to do. It takes time, but it's not very high demand. And when you're in a calorie deficit and your body fat levels get low, your energy levels are going to suffer. Things like HIIT cardio and more intense cardio are going to make that recovery process worse, whereas walking is easy on the body. body, and in my opinion, it doesn't quite have the same adaptations that the more intense forms of cardio do. Now, quickly before I get into step 4, if you're someone who's struggled with knowing how much to eat, with staying on plan, feeling like you don't have accountability, you would be the perfect candidate for online coaching where I can take over those concerns for you, tell you exactly what to do, how to create a healthier relationship with food. So if this is something you're interested in, fill out the application. There's a link in the description. And step 4 is really just about that, the emotional side of things. This is the thing that probably keeps you from getting where you want to be more than anything else. It's so easy to let your emotions take over, but your emotions are never on your side. They're always going to make things seem worse than they actually are, and you need to be able to do what you said you would do before your emotions took over. But even if you can't get all the way there, and not everyone can, most people actually can't get all the way down to the levels they want in one fat loss attempt, and that's okay. But you can't say, screw it, I can't get there, what's the point, and then just go nuts. So it's okay to stop your fat loss if it's not there, but you need to do what's called a reverse diet and start gradually increasing your calories back up to get your metabolism back into a better place, so down the road you're still in a decent spot with your body fat, but in a much better spot metabolically, so you can start the cut again and get down to that next level where you want to be. But the problem many people have is they don't reverse diet long enough to really improve their metabolism, be in a good enough position to see fat loss. So to make sure you don't jump back into a fat loss phase too fast, and to know how long you should reverse diet before starting your cutting phase, make sure you check out this top video and I'll cover exactly that. Otherwise, I think you'll like this bottom video instead, and I'll see you in one of those other videos.